Have you ever met someone who says, as naturally as possible, "I don't like music"? While most people have playlists for every mood, artists that mark times in their lives, or even songs that make them cry for no apparent reason, they simply shrug their shoulders when it comes to melody. It almost seems sacrilege in a culture that breathes rhythms, from the cradle to the deathbed. But is this indifference just a matter of taste, or does it hide something much deeper about how these people experience the world? Before you think that doesn't exist, everyone likes music, it's worth remembering. The human brain is a universe of variations, and what is pleasure for some may be noise for others. It's not a lack of sensitivity, but a different neurological organization or, in some cases, experiences that have rewritten the way sound is processed. After all, if there were people who couldn't smell, anosmia, or couldn't see colors, achromatopsia, why wouldn't there be people who couldn't feel the magic of music? To understand this, we need to delve into layers that go beyond the obvious. Maybe the problem isn't the music itself, but what it represents. Imagine a child who, every time he heard a song, was forced to perform for adults, dance, sing, show off. Over time, the brain associates music with pressure, and what should be pleasure becomes an anxiety trigger. Or think about someone who, in moments of extreme loneliness, turned on the radio just to not hear their own silence, until the music started to sound like the echo of a false company. At these times, silence becomes a refuge, and the chords become invaders. There are also those who simply cannot decode the emotion in the sounds. Studies show that about 3% to 5% of the population has congenital amusia, a condition in which the brain cannot distinguish musical notes or rhythms. For these people, a Beethoven symphony can sound as chaotic as the clanking of falling pans. It's not a lack of culture or stubbornness, it's like trying to appreciate a painting while being colorblind. Music, for them, is a foreign language that they never learned. But what about those who don't have amusia and still prefer silence? Then the answer may lie in personality. People who are highly introverted or sensitive to stimuli often avoid music because it overloads the senses. In a world already full of voices, notifications, and urban noise, the absence of sound is an oasis of clarity. For them, music is not a companion, it's just another layer of noise in a mind that already processes too much. And then there are the philosophers of silence, those who see the absence of music as a form of resistance. In an era where everything is accompanied by soundtracks, from commercials to intimate moments, choosing not to listen is, in a way, refusing to be manipulated. They know that music is a powerful tool, it can sell products, create artificial memories, or even shape emotions. Choosing not to consume it is, in essence, a declaration of autonomy. If you are one of these people, you may have heard phrases like "how do you live without music," or "you have no soul." But the truth is, you're not empty, or cold, or broken, you just experience the world in a way that most people don't understand. While others need beats to cheer them up or ballads to cry, you find rhythm in the wind, melody in the silence between words, harmony in your own breathing. Your soundtrack is made up of things that others don't hear. And if today you feel a little alone in this way of being, remember, music is just one of the infinite forms of art. Maybe yours is the art of paying attention to what others ignore, the sound of the leaves, the tone of voice of the one you love, the silence that exists before a kiss. This is also poetry. This is also music. If this text made sense to you, tell me in the comments, what is your relationship with sounds? Do you also prefer silence? Share with those who need to know that they are not alone in this. And if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. Until next time, in silence or with the soundtrack of your choice. Milky Way. The art of not filling the silences. Have you ever noticed how the world seems to be afraid of emptiness? People fill spaces with forced conversations, endless playlists, notifications that never stop. But you breathe in the silence. While others rush to cover any gap in stillness, you let the air in. And that, my friend, is not absence. It is pure presence. It's not that you don't like sounds. It's up to you to choose which ones deserve your attention. The noise of a city at 3 a.m., the creak of an old door, the voice of someone you love saying something that doesn't need a soundtrack to be profound. You are not deaf to the noises of the world, you are selective. And that, in an age of excess, is an act of rebellion. There is an urban legend that those who don't listen to music are cold, distant, as if emotion depended on one beat per minute. But the truth? You feel things on deeper layers. While most people need a song to cry to, you cry because of the wind. While they need a chorus to cheer themselves up, you energize with the anticipation of a hot coffee on a quiet morning. Your playlist is made up of things that have no name, and that's not sensory poverty. It is invisible wealth. Of course, this comes at a price. You may have already heard. How do you drive without music? Isn't it boring? You're weird. But here's the secret. What they call boring, you call peace. What they see as strange, you know is freedom. Because when you don't depend on external stimuli to exist, you discover that life is already a symphony only made up of notes that almost no one else hears. And if sometimes you feel alone in this, remember, silence is the only place where we hear our own voice. While the world screams, you listen. While they are distracted, you watch. And that, more than any current hit, is what makes you unforgettable. Now tell me. Sparkles, what is the sound that only you hear? The wind in the window? The sound of rain on hot days? The silence after a laugh? Speaker with 3 sound waves, or do you also prefer it when the world turns down the volume? Share with those who need to know that they are not alone in silence. And if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications, because the next one might be the one you've been waiting to hear. Milky Way. And yes, I know you don't need a loud call to action. But if you do, the door is open. Always silent. The silence that speaks louder than any playlist. Have you ever noticed how the world is afraid of emptiness? Not the existential void, we leave that for 3 a.m., but the physical silence, that space between one song and another, between one notification and the next, between what you should be feeling and what you actually feel. People fill everything, the car with podcasts, the shower with WhatsApp audios, the walk with reels that they won't even remember in 5 minutes. But you let the air breathe. You let thoughts fall like dry leaves, in no rush to sweep them away. And this act of not filling out is what scares others the most. Because when you don't depend on noise to exist, you become a mirror. And mirrors, well, they show things that a lot of people don't want to see. What they don't understand, and you know. 1. That silence is not absence, it is pure presence. While they listen to music to avoid hearing their own heads, you heard the sound of your breathing today. You know that moment when your chest rises and falls, and suddenly you remember that you're alive. So it is. That's a hit no algorithm can recommend. 2. That you're not wasting time, you're gaining depth. They think you're boring for not speaking in high. You know that the elevator is the only place where no one judges you for being quiet. And if they judge, that's their problem. Pro tip: the best ideas don't come in noisy brainstorms. They come when you're looking out the window, with no sound competing with your neurons. 3. That you have mastered a rare art, that of being with yourself. In an era where loneliness is confused with being alone, you discovered that loneliness is not knowing how to cope without distractions. You can handle it. And that makes you stronger than any empowerment playlist on Spotify. The paradox of silence, or why you are so threatening. Here's the inconvenient truth. People are not afraid of your silence. They are afraid of what he reveals about them. When you don't laugh at a forced joke, they wonder, don't I think it's funny too? When you don't comment on someone else's drama, they ask themselves, shouldn't I get involved too? When you simply exist without performing, they wonder, why can't I do this? You are a walking reminder that life doesn't have to be a reality show. And that, my friend, is revolutionary. What happens when you stop fearing the vacuum? 1. You hear things no one else hears. The sound of the wind beating different before the rain. The crackle of your own bones when you stand up, yes, that's poetic. The voice of your intuition, which speaks softly, but never makes mistakes. 2. You become immune to cheap manipulations. Advertising? Do you need a jingle to sell? It's not for you. Other people's drama? Do you need to shout to get attention? It's not for you. You have become an authenticity detector. And that's a superpower in a world of filters. 3. You discover that loneliness is not a lack, it is a choice. It's not that you don't like people, You just don't trade your peace for any company. Quote to keep: I prefer a shared silence with someone who understands to a deafening noise with someone who doesn't see me. And now, the question nobody asks, but you know the answer. What do you hear when the world shuts up? Is it the hum of your own blood in your veins? Is it the memory of a laugh that you have kept for years? Is the sound of the future whispering something only you can decipher? Or is it that, deep down, what you hear is simply, you? And if the answer scares you, congratulations. You're on the right track. For those who need to hear this today, if you have ever been called antisocial, because he likes to be quiet, weird, because you don't need sound to drive, boring, because it doesn't feed gossip, know this: you are not the problem. You are the cure. In a world that screams look at me, you look within. And this courage not to perform, not to fulfill, not to surrender to the noise is what will save the sanity of many people. Including yours. Your time. Small Blue Diamond, what is the sound that only you recognize? The squeak of your favorite chair. The silence after a tight hug. Small Blue Diamond, or are you also one of those people who, when the world turns down the volume, can finally hear? Share with those who need to know that they are not alone in the stillness. And if you want more reflections like this, turn on notifications, because the next one might be the one you were waiting to hear in silence. And yes, I know you don't need a loud call to action. But if you do, the door is open. Always quietly, Milky Way. P.S. If today you felt weird because you prefer silence, remember, the best symphonies have pauses. And you are the pause that makes sense. Milky Way, for those who need to read this now, and didn't know they needed it. Have you ever been called hard to please because you don't smile at empty compliments? Or cold because you don't need a hug to feel loved? Or even arrogant because you don't accept help when you know you can solve it alone? The truth is, you are none of those adjectives. You are a filter. Human in a world of noise. While most drown in I like you that don't come with actions, in congratulations that hide criticism, or in can I help, that were just social protocols you learned to distinguish gold from pyrite. And that, my friend, is a superpower disguised as weirdness. Left-pointing magnifying glass, the science behind its weirdness. Yes, there is science to this. And no, you are not crazy. 1. Your brain has an overdeveloped fake detector. Neuroscience studies show that people with high sensitivity to dopamine, the reward neurotransmitter, detect emotional inconsistencies faster. Translation: when someone says you're amazing with a forced smile, your limbic system sets off an alarm before you can even rationalize. Result: you distrust generic compliments, not out of insecurity, but out of sharp emotional intelligence. 2. You have been conditioned to associate affection with traps. If in childhood or in past relationships, affection was accompanied by manipulation, I love you, but could you help me with this? Your subconscious created a shortcut: affection equals emotional debt. It's not cold. It's self-protection. And yes, this explains why you prefer demonstrations of love in actions, not in words. 3. Your independence isn't stubbornness, it's trained resilience. People who refuse unnecessary help often have to fend for themselves early on. Your brain has learned, if I depend on others, I may get frustrated. Better to make sure I can do it alone. It's not pride. It's survival. And ironically, that's why when you ask for help, it's because you really need it. Electric light bulb, what they don't understand, but you should know. While they label you as difficult, distant, or complicated, what they don't see is that. Heavy checkmark: you don't reject people, you reject superficiality. And in a world where "how are you" is just a greeting and "I miss you" has become a figure of speech, that's courage. Heavy checkmark: you are not antisocial, you are selectively social. Would you rather have a deep conversation with one person than 100 "hi, how are you" in the WhatsApp group? Quality quantity is not a defect. It is wisdom. Heavy checkmark: you are not ungrateful, you value what is genuine. A thank you from you may take a while to come out, but when it does, it's because it came from the chest. And that's worth more than 100 automatic thanks. Beautiful. Heavy checkmark: you are not arrogant, you know your worth without having to announce it. You don't need to post achievements, because your victories are for you. And that, my dear, is silent trust, the rarest of all. Performing arts, the paradox. You are exactly what the world needs. Society rewards extroversion, idolizes the validation of others, and confuses kindness with a lack of limits. But here's the bombshell truth. The world is full of people who talk too much, praise without feeling, and help out of obligation. What is missing are those who. They listen more than they talk. They thank you sincerely, not out of politeness. They help because they want to, not because they are asked to. They exist without needing to prove that they exist. You are that someone. And even if no one tells you this, no, your weirdness is the antidote to modern superficiality. Pushpin your mission, if you accept, of course. 1. Stop apologizing for being this way. You're not too much. The world is too little. 2. Let those who don't understand. Explaining its essence to those who only see the bark is like teaching poetry to those who only know how to count syllables. 3. Celebrate your selectivity. If you only open your heart to a few, it's because those few deserve the best from you. And this is a gift, not a defect. 4. When someone says you are difficult, respond. I'm not difficult. I'm worthy of respect. There's a difference. Speech balloon now, tell me. Small blue diamond, when was the last time you disappointed someone by being authentic, and didn't regret it? Small blue diamond, or are you also one of those who, when someone says you've changed, responds actually, I just stopped pretending? Comment here. Not to please me, but because your story can be the mirror that someone needs today. And if this text made sense to you, keep it. Because the next time they call you weird, you'll remember. You are not the problem. You are the answer. P.S. If today you felt out of the norm, remember. The most interesting people have always been the ones who didn't fit into the boxes. And look, the boxes are the ones that break over time. Not you. P.P.S. Turn on notifications if you want more reflections like this. Or not. After all, you make your own rules. Winking face. Seedling to take with you. They will call you arrogant, cold, difficult. Until the day they need someone who doesn't bend, doesn't pretend, and doesn't cheat. Then, they will call you leader. Keep being you. 5. When people call you intense, smile and say, it's not intensity. It's unfiltered passion. And the world needs that more than people who live in automatic mode. Speech balloon now, tell me. Small blue diamond, when was the last time you gave up being normal to be real, and did it cost you a relationship, a job, or a friendship? Small blue diamond, or have you also heard, you take things too seriously, when in fact people don't take anything seriously enough? Right here. Not to impress me, but because your honesty might be the spark someone needs to stop putting themselves down. And if this text touched something in you, save it. Because the next time you're told to put the ball down, you'll remember. The problem is not that you are too much. It's because they're lacking. P.S. If today you felt too for somewhere, remember. The people who change the world have always been those who don't fit the mold. And look, patterns age. You don't. P.P.S. Want more reflections that hurt, right? Turn on notifications, or not. After all, you don't exist to follow rules. You exist to rewrite them. Fountain pen hash. Globe showing Europe Africa to keep in your pocket. They will call you dramatic, exaggerated, complicated. Until the day when the world needs someone who feels too much, who fights too much, who loves too much. Then, they will call you necessary. It's still the hassle that makes the difference. Expanded development, new original blocks. 6. About being the boring one in the group. Have you ever been the one who questioned the sexist joke, who refused the Brazilian way, or who stopped the party to talk about a serious topic? Well, no. The world moves forward when someone decides to be the nuisance. It's not cool. It's courage not to condone what's wrong, even if it means being the only one to raise your voice. What if they call you boring for that? Reply, I'd rather be boring than an accomplice. 7. The mathematics of authenticity. People who will love you for being you, few. People who will judge you for being you, many. People you will inspire without knowing it, countless. Conclusion. The price of authenticity is too cheap for the return it gives. 8. For those who have heard you've changed, and know that you actually just stopped lying. It's not change. It's taking off masks. And yes, this scares those who are used to the edited version of you. But here's the naked truth. People are not afraid of you changing. They're afraid you'll show them that they could too, and they don't have the courage. 9. The non-standard paradox. They call you weird, until they need someone who thinks outside the box. They call you difficult, until they need someone who doesn't bend to convenience. They call you intense, until they need someone who doesn't give up at the first no. Moral of the story: what is a deficiency today will be a difference tomorrow. 10. When they tell you to be more flexible. Flexibility is one thing. Betraying your values is another. Fold who is paper. Who is steel, bends, but does not break. And the world needs steel more than origami. Fire bonus, our rule. That of authenticity. If you need to choose between white heavy checkmark being loved by those who don't really know you, white heavy checkmark, or be hated by those who are afraid of your light, always choose the second option. Because hatred out of envy is the price of those who shine, and false love is the currency of those who fade. Pushpin to reflect today. They will ask you to lower your voice, tone down, soften the edges. Until the day they need someone to shout, to illuminate, to cut what is rotten. Then, they will call you leader. Remain the problem they don't have the courage to solve. Rocket final call, powerful CTA. If this text made you take a deep breath, save it. If anyone needs to read this today, please share. And if you want more truths that hurt right, turn on notifications, or not. After all, you're not here to follow scripts. You are here to rewrite them. And the world is waiting for your next chapter. Open book sparkles.